The landscape is pretty brown. I mean, like very brown. I usually complain about some brown, but this is extreme. It is that time of year. So probably not too interesting of a landscape, but trying to capture a few photos. And oddly enough, I've captured more of like outside of the park while we're walking on the edge. That might be interesting, more so than in the park itself. But we're about halfway into the walk, so we'll see what we get as we continue on. Given the lack of color this time of year and the harsh sunlight this afternoon, I went all in on higher contrast photos and edited these in the classic chrome profile that comes with my Fujifilm camera. These are a few examples of photos taken from across the river with my long lens, and this tree caught my eye. I tried to get a bit more separation from the background, but it was difficult since they are the same color. And this is one of my favorites of the day. I like the mix of tree and open space with the shed nestled in the shadows and some of the wood from the woodpile strewn about. And this is a different angle of that first tree, and again I like the mix of open space and tree cover. I went heavy on the contrast, as you can tell, which I think helps make the photo a bit more interesting. You know, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were out in a park and it was 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And this afternoon, a couple of weeks later, it's in the 70s. I don't know exactly what it is, but crazy temperature difference just in that short time frame. I like how the classic chrome treats the white head of this younger eagle, as well as the pleasing blue sky. It took a few shots to get a clean one due to all the branches that were in front. It was windy too, so everything was moving around quite a bit. I messed up the colors here a bit and just went all in with some extremes. So your mileage may vary on this one, but I do like the distinct tree trunk in the background, giving it a bit of a focal point. And the cluster of trees in the center of the frame here is my main subject, but I kept it fairly wide as I like the addition of the other clusters which stand out against the background. And notice all the tree trunks on the ground. It's been this way most of the way of our walk, and I think it's from all the flooding that comes from the Minnesota River, and logs just kind of pile up in the trees that are still standing. I like these layered shots typically, especially when there's a trail leading into them, but this one was difficult to really make anything too distinctive, so it got a bit messy with a lack of subject, I think. This was a neat stretch of trees along the back channel of the river. It's just a clean and simple panorama. Perhaps not too interesting, but it's fun to practice nonetheless. In my final photo, I struggled with the composition, determining what to keep and what to exclude, but I opted to keep more in than less, given that house that's tucked away in the background. I think providing more area around the house adds to it for more context in the situation, rather than takes away. Well, I think I hobbled together enough photos. I don't know, fingers crossed. It got a little bit more interesting as we looped around and took a different path back. It started off muddier than normal, or just pretty muddy, but it dried out as we went. So I guess the last part of the trip was pretty decent. So this is probably a shorter video overall, but it ended up being a pretty nice hike. So if you stuck around to the end, I appreciate it and hope to catch you again in the next one. Take care.